Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Summa Sales School. Today we have another great guest. We got Ryan Groth with Sales Transformation Group. Ryan, what's going on, my friend?
I'm great, Nick. Welcome. I'm glad. Thanks for having me. Sorry.
Absolutely. Hey, it's still early in the morning over there,
It's
Hawaii.
early.
What time is it, Ryan? What time is it over there?
It's 4:52 in
It
the morning.
is 4:52 in the morning, and Ryan has showed up to bring some heat, bringing some content, bring some value to you guys. So I'm really excited about this one. We love working with commercial roofing contractors, and we're really actually going to be focusing on that aspect, that division of your business. Now, this is a cool topic too. It's all going to be about growing your service department with proven systems. We're going to talk about the value of service, the potential it can have in terms of growth of your business and everything like that. So Ryan, man, it seems like everybody wants to get into commercial roofing. Now, what are some crucial factors on if that contractor is going to be successful in that transition?
Well, a couple things come to mind, and thanks for having me. Everybody wants to be in the commercial. I think some big mistakes. I'll start with a couple of mistakes that will cause you to fail out of the gate. One would be to get enticed by the multiple invitations to bid on new construction projects. The reason why I say that is because you're going to find that it's a challenging world, a competitive bid world, and you're not able to really sell your value and build relationships that well. So it's going to make it a challenging environment to make money in. They're going to ask you to have some working capital. They're going to hold money until the end and way past the project's done and then pay you. They're going to have lower margins. They're going to want to control the job. They're going to have higher risk terms on you. So I would like to I categorize them, and not saying that you should never work with them forever, but what I would categorize them as a professional buyer. And the professional buyers are people who are literally like paid to try to beat up vendors, subcontractors on price, and so what I'd encourage you to do is to work with the unprofessional buyer, to start with the person who's kind of like the homeowner who needs help, who doesn't really know a lot about about roofing, specifically if you're in the roofing trade, which I know the majority of who this audience is would be roofing. So I would encourage you guys to try to find and start relationally. And I would start by meeting people where they're at and servicing their roof and not trying to jump right into the re-roofing. And I know we're going to get into more of that because if you become a one-trick pony and you re-roof and you just do coatings, for example, only, you start to kind of put yourself into a box. And if you want to really do commercial right, you need to start with relationships and then essentially servicing them, meeting them where they're at. And there's some magic to making that a very important part of growing your commercial business. But that would be mistakes to avoid and the place to start. And then many times I see the owner kind of delegating residential sales if they're a residential company first, and then they start taking on commercial. I think that's all fine and dandy, but as you find, it gets pretty technical. And it gets pretty in depth, and like the relationships keep building and building. And I think the owner should always wear that hat, especially if they're, a small business owner looking to build a legacy business, pass things on to their kids and things like that. They need to do that. But but I would also say that it'd be wise to bring on, a talented teammate who's, who maybe isn't commission, what do you call it? Lack of a better word, trained. Like I think a lot of residential guys who crushing it are just like, man, it's hard to pay them that kind of money in commercial.
Exactly.
It's hard for them to like make that switch. So I would say find somebody really talented that you can, bring along a journey with you to essentially be like a commercial president or president of your commercial division. And I've seen guys do it successfully with small, young talent, or younger, not small, but younger, talented people at a small team. Or I've also seen them bring in, experts, but I like going small and mean and young at first. It's better typically. So.
Yeah, no, I like that. I asked you how to be successful in the transition, and you actually focused more on what to avoid, really. So it's not sometimes, what you do, but it's what you don't do, right? So now when you're looking at prospecting in the beginning phases of making that transition, how are you going about that? I mean, you're looking at like a service area, and then kind of picking kind of what buildings you want to go after, or how do you kind of create your ideal, customer when you're getting new into the space of commercial?
Yeah, I would say your ideal customer really in commercial should be decision makers of multiple buildings. Like that should be pretty much your ideal client in a
Mm-hmm.
nutshell. Prospecting can be something like, I'll say this, like 1% of outbound cold calls will close, 30% of inbound will close, 50% of referrals will likely close, and 80% of introductions will likely close. So what we teach, we're big on like the money tree, the referral tree, and just building like a really strong referral network. And usually you could start with that and get you some momentum out of the gate. And then if you're really good at relational prospecting and networking, you can actually just keep double clicking on that strategy versus
Mm-hmm.
cold outreach. Because I find that it's going to be challenging if you give a guy a base pay and some commission upside on service and just have him pound the phones all day. I mean, that's just going to
Yeah,
take a
that's
little longer.
tough.
It's tough. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just you're going to get discouraged. And so what I would do is I would like be an owner who just networks and opens doors and be the biggest center of influence for your salesperson in commercial, and just essentially open up your entire network to that person and then get your network to open up their network.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what you can do is you can also sponsor and be part of. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Think about roofing, right? You and I are in roofing.
Yeah.
We service this niche. There's associations, there's shows, there's events, there's places where they learn and sit and be educated, kind of like this school right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about that. Your commercial clients actually are do the same thing. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to model what commercial sales looks like, look at your industry and look at who's the best at servicing the niche and going deeper into it, right? So like think about the best commercial roofing marketing companies I know are doing lunch and learns. They're doing visits at their office with prospects and clients. They're speaking and doing continuing education credits and units,
Mm-hmm.
CEUs at the state level to service the industry. And so really their ideal client is sitting in a classroom setting because they have to in order to keep their credentials, and they're listening to somebody speak about roofing. And the person that when they want to get a roofing need from is probably going to be that person, unless they have a great brother-in-law, and that usually doesn't last forever anyway. So all that said, I would be more of a power networker, and that's really powerful. And you start to realize, hey, I shouldn't be a jerk to everybody in town. Maybe they need people. Maybe they'll need me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be in a good standing. And so you kind of play politician a little bit at a local level to be a really good networker. And it's a challenge because you want to be honest, and sometimes you want to be brutally honest, but it's not always the best thing to do, because if you're brutally honest with a mechanical contractor who's got 300 of your ideal clients, you probably want to make sure that mechanical contractor is pretty pleased with you as a person, as a brand,
Mm-hmm.
and because they could open up their entire network to you.
Yeah, imagine the impact that can have on your business. So, do you have any tips on networking, whether it's frequency or types of things to be doing or anything like that? Because that was my big takeaway from what you just said, is that be a master networker, right? If you want to be good at commercial sales, be a master marketer or networker.
Yeah, that I would just like go where your best client or your best ideal client goes. That's where I
Mm-hmm.
would start. So like if you start to work with clients, like you'll notice that they might pull you into a place you never would have noticed, but then there are also some pretty, obvious places like apartment associations, BOMA, IFMAs,
Mm-hmm.
women in construction. There's going to be all kinds of different places where essentially your property management companies, your owner groups, your REITs are going to be present and be learning from. So you can start there. And, for me and you and I are helping each other doing this right now. Why? Because you have your ideal client is my ideal client, and we can
Mm-hmm.
help each other, right? So I would partner with people who service your ideal client, but there's a non-overlapping
Yeah.
service. So like I like big painting companies, big paving companies, big mechanical contractors, anybody on the building envelope, big waterproofing contractors, restoration contractors. Whenever it gets
Mm-hmm.
gnarly, right? Like things happen. It's a big water, mold, fire, rugs. Like,
Yeah.
typically, it's funny, even like the big roofing companies actually will get called, and then they'll work with the restoration company partner, right? And so
Yeah.
And then you may want to go with like a big residential company who gets called for commercial and they just like don't have the capability, so they could refer you, and you say, hey, let's do a deal. I'll refer these types of projects to you. And so, I got where I came from in South Florida, my friend, who was the son of, the company I worked at, he ended up, starting his own business, a residential business. And he got a built-in partnership. His dad's got one of the biggest brands in South Florida. Every residential deal comes to him now.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, that's pretty sweet. So
yeah, that's a nice setup.
He jumped out of the gate really well. And obviously he's got to go deliver his reputation line, but
any kind of collaboration though is key. I mean, I love that you said that and touched on that. I mean, what are we doing right now, right? What do I do every week with Randy in the Start Build Grow show, right? It's all about collaboration, right? It's how can you utilize other people's networks to, help each other, right? It's such a hack, and look, what Ryan was saying is, passing over referral business to each other too. So there's so many win-win situations when you're collaborating with others. One thing I wanted to touch on too is, we've talked about networking. Now, what percentage of your selling time should be done in networking? It sounds like it's a pretty high percentage.
Yeah, especially like out of the gate, because you could really create an account manager or, account executive model where that person essentially has so many accounts they're working, and they're able to spend some time taking calls in from referrals, and then they're basically prospecting. Yeah, you have two models. One is you have a sales force who's really heavy outbound, and they network locally, and then they're managing current accounts. And then you have like a heavy account manager where they're just handling servicing existing accounts. And then you have like a prospector, a business developer rather, and they're networking on behalf of the brand of the company, and they do that full time. And so I think at some point you got to decide what kind of sales and networking model do you want to create, each of which have different comp plans.
I don't know about you, Ryan. I don't like cold calling. You know what I mean? Like, I'd much rather go build relationships with people, go to events, build these relationships that are going to be long lasting for a long time.
Agreed. I mean, you could cold outreach and do some. I know Summa, you guys do some great work to help with prospecting.
But it's automated though. You know what I mean? Because it's like they shouldn't be spending their time doing that. In my opinion, it takes too long. I think they should be in front of the prospect.
Yeah, and I think that in commercial, you want to have your talent.
Exactly, talent.
That you want your talent to be handshakers, smilers, question askers, value adding type of.
People love them too, right? Your customers love them. Everything like that. Yeah.
They should be knowledgeable. I mean, it's not like, but it's not just shaking hands and kissing babies, so to speak. But it's somebody who knows how to bring influence, and influence happens by being consistent. It happens by giving with reciprocity, great brand, customer experience. It's
doing what you're saying you're going to do, right? Execute. I mean, if you execute every time.
What is forces you have to be good at commercial? Essentially, you have to be a good person. Like that has to. You can't fake that, hack that, shortcut that. You're saying I'm here to play, I'm here to stay, I'm here to be here.
Yep.
So you got to show up, you got to be consistent. And I think people with great integrity, consistency, professionalism will outlast, because there is going to be a problem in your commercial roofing business. I promise you, somebody will get frustrated with you. Somebody will be will complain. Somebody is going to push back. Somebody is going to threaten you. Someone's not going to.
I mean, that's business, right? That's business, though, right? Like, no matter what.
Yeah. But what you're saying is, I'm here to stay, and I'm here, and I'm around.
Yeah.
So how you respond to those things really dictates how your reputation is going to be, and how do you handle those things? Because it's not a one-time, one and done. You won't see them ever again. Like, no, you're hoping that's $100,000 a year account.
Yeah.
Every single year they're paying you more, and then they give you the re-roofing jobs, So
I think that long-term thinking though is one of the biggest issues, especially if you come from residential where you're getting quick wins. It's like you knock on their door, you get the deal, and it's done, the next week or whatever. Now you're spending so much time building this relationship. And so I think some people get frustrated and kind of give up on it. So like what expectations should people have in terms of the commercial sales cycle?
Yeah. So typically a service job will be anywhere from 14 to 30 days from contact to contract, which is, could be longer. but that's why you need a good sales process. You need to be able to, how to network so that your sales environment you're working within is not as challenging. Cold outreach is always going to be more challenging because trust isn't built as much. So I would just say the more organic and relational your sales environment is, the higher likelihood you'll have a shorter sales cycle.
Yeah.
And the better your sales process is and salesperson is, and better sales organized you are, the shorter your sales cycle will be. But you kind of, when you look at that, you're still looking at a 70 to 90 day sales cycle on re-roofing on average, but I've seen it shorten to 40 days with like good companies with repeat business on re-roofing jobs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love the surface approach where you get, start to get deeper into this. I mean, I love it because if you think about when you're going into commercial, it's a lot of overhead and you're waiting on cash a lot of the time too, right? So if you're new to that side of things, I wouldn't mind high profit service jobs. That sounds pretty good to me, right? If I can get enough of them.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, if you can get your head around, let me lead with this and make this my business and say, I want to have a $2 million, $4 million, $5 million service department at 50 to 70% gross profit. I mean, you could put whatever. I mean, if you have that much, I mean, you could just buy more trucks. You could get the right software. You can, I would rather a company focus on that and build their comp plans around that, build their customer ideal profile around them, everything around that, because that is essentially, I mean, I'm kind of a techie. I'm not super techie, but I think like a tech company in the way I think. And so I look at like the valuation of technology companies and how they grow. It's all about recurring revenue, right? So if you can, if you can look at like what is the biggest software companies in our niche do? They give away a free trial, then they get them on a certain number of users, and then now they have a larger user base in that account. And so what I would
That's all recurring revenue. That's all recurring revenue.
It's like, hey, you're a roofing contractor. You're going to recondition the roofing contractor to. You're getting excited. So
well, because it's like, dude. I mean, we have a recurring revenue model, right? And I love it because it gives you a little bit more predictability. And so, like, with roofing contractors, one of the things is it's a one and done, right? Then you don't see that customer for a long time. If you do, more service work, it's more like consistent.
And it's not like revenue. You can say, hey, here's, pay me $1,000 a month and I'll just service your roof forever. It's not necessarily like that, but because they have multiple assets, multiple reoccurring concerns around their roof. If you have a proactive sales approach, you can essentially get it to a maintainable condition, and therefore you can do like an umbrella program, a maintenance program, and it's a contract they sign saying, hey, I'll pay you this much now that it's in a maintainable condition and a warrantable condition, which means they should have spent, $5 to $25K with you first at a high margin in order to get it to that point. Right. So that's good. That's like real money. Like that's real cash. Like that's a residential re-roof right there, but with higher margins. And so, and then it's not just one time. If you continue to do that well and then reassess and reevaluate, you can extend the life of your roof. If you look at the cost of a roof, let's just say it's $250,000 and it's supposed to last 30. Think about if they don't do preventative maintenance and it lasts 20, right? Take 250 divided by 30 and then take 250 divided by 20 years. The difference there is how much you're saving them if they spend a little bit more upfront to work with you, right? And it kind of adds up. So I think that, and then if they want a really good system too, it could be higher. So yeah, it's exciting. You got recurring revenue and it makes your business more valuable. But not just if you're trying to exit the business, but just even if you just want peace of mind, knowing that next year you're not gonna have to, start over.
There's so many benefits of it. There's so many benefits. High profitability. I love high profitability too, right? And that means you can put that money back into growing other aspects of your business as well.
Yeah, and then you could actually salary like really good salespeople. You can actually salary them. You could pay them, $50,000 to $100,000 base. Which again, like it depends on your market and what your pay is. I'm not telling you what the pay should be today on this call. You never want to consult that specifically in a broad stroke like that. But I would say like, look, you can get talented people bought into your vision, representing you, and can go and penetrate a market and have the type of talent that you would put out into a networking event, right? Well, you can do that when you have $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million of gross with a 50%, 70% gross profit coming in, you could afford that. It's like there's enough money in there, and you could buy more equipment, more crews. But my point is, when you do that, the larger jobs start to fall into your lap, essentially.
Yep.
It's kind of an easy sale. Not that everyone will be easy, which is why you need a good sales process and still need to train and get coached on how to handle those challenges, because typically when re-roofing jobs come up, the resistance wall increases a little bit. And then there's also some, and typically a lot of it in some cases. And then the decision process and criteria starts to shake out a little bit. You start to get, they start to say, hey, let's look at a couple other contractors. You start dealing with a little bit more technical detail, and you can bring in the heavy, so to speak, an estimator, help you navigate how to, sell the value of your system that you're pitching.
So, one thing that I've heard you discuss before was, kind of having more control over the conversation, right? Where you're not allowing the property owner to make you another commodity. How do you get the conversation to go in the direction you want, have a little bit more control, and show your value?
Yeah, you really need to have a good sales process that has the milestones that you can set out to achieve. I think that here's what's true, man. If you don't have a process, you'll default to the prospects process.
Mm-hmm.
And the prospects process looks a lot like this. It's, hey, I need a re-roof bid. I need a re-roof quote. Can you come out here and tell me a quote? In fact, I want it to look like this system with this application. And you're like, oh, cool. All right, great. I'll go out there and give it to you. And you spend a bunch of time putting together a nice proposal. You send it to them, and then it's like crickets. You don't hear anything. And that's just because you don't have a good sales process that you believe in. So what I would encourage anybody who wants to have more control is to subscribe to a good sales process and learn the mentality of how to do that well. So you're not, giving a bunch of free consulting away, giving away the bar, and giving a bunch of time away to somebody who isn't going to buy from you in the first place, versus flipping that over and having a system that essentially helps you navigate whether it's worth the time, money, and resources to go through that inspection, estimate, and proposal process. And that could be accomplished within one or two phone call, a combination of a phone call and a meeting with a new potential customer.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, I have a couple more questions with you about presentation, but before we move on to that, Ryan, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can go on our website, and just contact us. You'll probably meet with one of my teammates. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty much on social platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook every day.
Mm-hmm.
And my email as well, rgroth at salestransformationgroup.com. So rgroth at salestransformationgroup.com. And yeah.
Hey, all about process, right? Anything that you can do to systemize and process your business to make you more efficient, more profitable, more predictability. That's one word that I know you utilize that I like too. When you're a business owner that doesn't really know where your revenue is going to be at every month, it's a little bit scary, right? So knowing
think about how that affects you. Like when you don't have certainty of mind, you start
mentally, right?
Like mentally, emotionally, your family suffers. I mean, I don't know about you, but whenever I don't know how I toss and turn at night. My wife's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, no, I'm not. So it's a big deal, and so I think that anytime you can create a repeatable, sustainable, predictable sales model, then my gosh, you have the ability to kind of have peace of mind. You can go on a vacation. No, it's all
you can have your
right.
mental health, man. You can have your mental health, and how big is that as a business owner? Because when you're stressed out as a business owner, everybody else suffers, right?
Your leadership is challenged, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, and then if your leadership is not good, you're going to lose talent. They're going to experience turnover.
Right.
It's a challenge. There's a lot of impact.
But hey, when business is like that and you're stressed out, that's a time to get help, right? It really is, right? Be resourceful, right? Utilize what is out there to help you improve your company, right? Why wouldn't you? I know some people look at it as, hey, this is a cost. I'm like, no, it's an investment, right? The reason why you have this money is to invest it back into your company to grow your company, make it more sustainable, right?
100%, yeah.
So one thing I wanted to talk about here as we start to bring this thing to a close, I got a couple more questions for you. Some people that we work with they only want to take replacements because they're like, all right, we have are cruisy, right? And we want to bring in big jobs with our time, and we're just not making enough money to keep our people busy with the service work. Would you have any advice for them? Like, what would you tell them?
Well, just look at the long-term impact for your clients first. If you don't provide a service solution, like one is, you know, you're going to lose. Well, they're going to be frustrated that you're not going to try to help them, and you're only going to try to sell them a big job, right? And you may, deep down that it doesn't need that per se, but you just don't feel, you're just too lazy to build a service department, and you want to just sell re-roofing because it's easy on you. That just shows that you're selfish and you're into yourself. Like, be a servant. This is all about service. It's all about helping people. And if you help people meet them where they're at and give them what they need at the place and time that they need it, they're going to entrust you with the full replacement when it's time. And it's going to be at a better margin. So you're going to make more money later.
Yeah.
And you're going to make money on the way to making more money later. It's just a little bit inconveniencing for you. You just got to get fanatical about it.
Well, so, I think when you're stressed though, you forget that you're supposed to be of service with your company. You're looking at your financials, you're looking at your numbers, you're thinking about the goals and metrics you have to hit, right? How you have to make payroll or whatever it is, and you forget, I just be of service, and it'll come back.
Yeah, for sure. And if you just build service into your plan, you'll know, like, okay, my closing ratio is going to start a little lower, but once your sales process, your sales team are compensated, one or two guys, I mean, it's going to be one or two per people, right? And if you as an owner want to do it the first year to build a foundation of clients, that's totally fine. But look, like, it's going to be, upwards to 60-70% closing ratio on service once you get this thing rolling. I mean, that's like every 10 lead calls, you're going to close 6 of them. I mean, that's fine. $5,000 a pop. That's set a 50 to 70% margin a pop, right? So just have some patience and just get fanatically focused on it and make it a part of your plan, and just, get some meaningful goals out of the gate. But I've seen guys start from nothing and, get to 40, 50 grand a month in service within the first year. And then second year, they're doing 80 to 90 to 100. They got guys doing 100K a month in service. I mean, that's real money. And then those turn into real re-roofing jobs.
So what are some similarities that you're seeing? This will become my last one as we close it out, with companies who got into the commercial space and saw really efficient, right, solid growth. Is it something in their sales process or anything like that? Anything that really stands out with these really successful commercial companies that you've worked with?
I'd say leadership and their commitment to it.
Yeah,
like an emphasis on sales. If you're reactive in anything you do, you're only going to grow. It's going to be. And I know a lot of people brag on their organic growth, like, word of mouth.
It is weird, man. Yeah, I think it puts you to sleep though, right? It gets you complacent because you have this wonderful organic growth, right? But then you're like, man, you have no idea what you're missing out on if you put it pedal to the metal.
Yeah, put the pedal to the metal. Like, you're only living once here. You got a window of opportunity before your market is cluttered with more proactive, growth-minded service companies. You're gonna get. Eventually your butt's going to get, handed to you by somebody who's listening to me and actually from your market and go take your market share. What I would do is I'd build an excitable young sales force, and they're not to be young necessarily. Okay. I'm not saying
energetic though, I'd say, right?
Energetic. Somebody's with some like, build a culture of growth, make it exciting, build a competitive environment, build a sales culture, build a culture of growth, put numbers on the board, show people how you guys are doing. Bring leadership. And I think if you do that, then you're going to attract people who want. Here's what's cool about commercial is that it creates an environment for someone to really feel like they're a professional. And I think that residential roofing, you could provide that, but there's more attraction to saying, man, I'm going to make 60 grand base pay with benefits or plus commission or plus bonus
you have to sharpen your skills too, right? Like, now that sales environment and how you handle this relationship it's higher level sales environment, which I think it helps you sharpen your skills, improve, and build your confidence because you progress in your career.
Right. And that's what I witnessed whenever I learned this. And then I said, wow, I think this is something I want to go help people
Yeah.
create, because I found a lot of meaning myself personally learning these skills. And that's something that's changed the course of my family and my professional career, because you've had skills. And before that I was a baseball player, and then after that I was coaching kids. I was like, I got to figure something out. So when
Sales is such a great opportunity though, man.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys like you and like me out there waiting for a good leader to bring them in and show them an opportunity to build relationships and be meaningful, bring meaningful impact to a market, and wear a professional button down and like be a part of something, and that's exciting.
Well, hey, Ryan, man, I really appreciate you joining us for episode 5 of Summa Sales School. It's been a pleasure having you on. And like Ryan said, hey, if you guys want to get connected, go to salestransformationgroup.com, or you can book a call. I'm sure they'd love to help you out.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. And we have different programs. It's not just limited to commercial, but we have a service accelerator, a sales accelerator program to help you grow service and sales, and even some executive leadership training. And we have residential sales products as well if you want to beef that up. So we're excited over here to help you, and hopefully we're connected soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.